I went and looked at 100 plus SaaS pricing pages. And in this video, I want to go over some of the variations, the pros and the cons of each of these different models. I also have a couple of examples of companies that pivoted from one model to the other and how that transition went. Because the world of startups was essentially transformed when we figured out SaaS. When companies pivoted from this one-time sale to a monthly subscription, this world of possibilities was unveiled. SaaS allows for predictable revenue. It lets us estimate customer lifetime value with unprecedented accuracy. And these days, you can even raise capital or even get a loan just based on your monthly subscriptions. So let's get to it. Let's start with flat. So a flat SaaS model means that the platform has a fixed cost regardless of features or usage. I'm not going to spend that much time on flat pricing because honestly, in this day and age, flat pricing is pretty rare. While it's simple and very easy to explain to customers, flat pricing has the problem of not allowing you to upsell. Upsell translates into negative churn, which is like SaaS nirvana. Negative churn is when you make more money from the same set of customers because instead of canceling, they generally are upgrading their plans to a more expensive billing. The majority of products just have plain and simple churn, which is when you lose customers or you lose revenue from a cohort of users. Now, if none of this is making any sense, you should pause this video and watch our video on SaaS metrics. It'll prepare you so much better for the new pricing schemes and everything that's to come here. So here are some examples of flat pricing. Skillshare is one. Even though they don't show their pricing on the page, you can only find it after you've signed up, which I would guess is a little bit to reduce friction and to capture as many leads as possible. Brain FM is another example. Notice how simple and frictionless this pricing page looks. Here's recurring.co, which is our SaaS expense tracking platform. And last but not least, this is us, Slidebean. We were moving to a single flat plan precisely because we want to make things simple for our customers. We're willing to sacrifice the possibility to upsell in return for better conversion and just a simpler experience overall. So now let's go to tiered. Previously, we had something like this, which is what we call a tiered pricing plan. When going tiered, you can essentially group sets of features into these plans and force customers to upgrade if they want to access them. Now, as I mentioned, we used this model for years, and overall, it worked very well. Entry-level plans would allow for customers to dip their toes while leaving a chance to upgrade and to make more revenue from those customers. You may also group features by the type of customer and tailor that plan to them. You can look at this page from Gecko Board, for example. Their cheaper plan is very cheap and has very few features, but the moment you need custom logos, for example, or additional screens, the plan jumps by over 500%. While that may sound like a lot, it very much relates to the type of customer it's targeting. An individual or a super early startup doesn't need any of that. A small business with multiple employees, 3 screens, and multiple dashboards can probably afford $100 more. Here's another tiered example from another platform that we use. Most companies try to stick to 2 or 3 different tiers, some going all the way up to 4, which does translate into more confusing landing pages. Also, try and fit this into a responsive layout. Tiered works really well if you can find that ideal balance of features so that a customer upgrading does so because the plan as a whole is tailored for them. This balance can backfire if you have, for example, customers upgrading because of a single function that they need access to. In those cases, that plan or that pricing can easily be perceived as wasted if you aren't really taking advantage of everything else that it offers. Now, an alternative way to scale this is with usage-based pricing. Usage-based has the advantage of being connected directly to the value that the platform provides. These modules are usually associated to a very important KPI that the platform has an influence on. For example, Stripe is a payment processor. It charges a flat 2.9% fee for any transaction, period. Algolia, which we use for database search, charges you a flat $1 per 1,000 search requests. ChartMogul, which is a revenue tracking platform, bases its main plan on the MRR of its customers, which is what their platform tracks. Now, in their case, even though they don't directly influence MRR, recurring revenue is just a great measure of a company's size and therefore the amount of value extracted out of the platform. Coincidentally, the more MRR a company has, the more computing power their server needs to process it. And that's just the main advantage of this model. If the KPI selected is the right one, the pricing can immediately feel fair to the customer and just reduce that pushback and that churn. One risk, though, is that usage-based pricing depends on the scale of the companies. Your growth is essentially tied to the growth of your customers. Now, the last model we'll look at is user-based. Companies like Slack or ClickUp, Monday, Calendly, and even Google's G Suite scale based on the number of team members using them. It's another way to proportionally scale pricing based on the company size and hopefully the value extracted as well. If the companies that you target are large enough, this of course makes a lot of sense. We actually tried this at some point with our own platform, only to find out that it was mainly the CEO who was using the pitch deck builder, and he rarely had to bring in new people. We even found some cases of them just sharing passwords, which did break our hearts a little bit. But that being said, we still share some passwords for some platforms that we use. Shame on us. But honestly, we have a shared password for many of our stock footage libraries, for many of our marketing tools, simply because people who need the platform on a regular basis are just 1-2 employees and never at the same time. Amazon Business Prime is just a good example of this. They charge a few $100s per additional user. And honestly, for a company our size, it's just easier, cheaper to have a shared Prime account that only required team members can access. We don't need a separate account for each one of them. Now, that being said, we can also, of course, combine these pricing pages or these pricing models. Zapier, for example, expands both with features and with a number of actions. It's a combo of tier-based and usage-based. ClickUp has 2 plans, which makes it a tier-based model, but also a user-based pricing plan. Adobe for Teams, for example, scales both on a per-user basis and a flat fee per tool. Now, the general conclusion with all of this is understanding customer usage and then adjusting your pricing to that. You have to adapt to your customers, not the other way around. Now, in this particular video, I'm not gonna get into onboarding/conversion tactics. We could go into freemium versus premium or monthly versus annual, which of course connects to a concept called time to value, or more colloquially, the aha moment. But again, if you'd like us to cover that in a video, please let us know in the comments. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about pivoting models. I think a very interesting case study is ChartMogul. These guys moved from tier-based pricing to usage-based pricing a couple of years ago, and were willing to share some numbers with us for today.
In the beginning, we focused on customer-based pricing that would scale up in tiers. And we had experimented with this extensively. We had a number of different types of plans. We frequently couldn't close deals without discounting. We also encountered friction, especially during the entry-level pricing, so our lowest tier pricing. When we worked with customers through their time with us, there were junctures when they would move into a higher pricing tier where they would also try to renegotiate. They reach out to us and they weren't happy about how the price was scaling for them.
How long did you plan to roll to make the transition? How many months?
When we decided that we were going to go to revenue-based pricing, we launched on this new pricing stack. We also then made a plan to transition over existing customers to this new pricing. We thought of it as a more long-term plan that would easily take over a year, and it ended up taking us a good year and a half to do it. The reason why it took so long is that we decided to do these conversations individually rather than just having a cold automated message where we wanted to have these discussions with empathy. The process of migration, I would say it was about like 800-900 accounts in that ballpark, like somewhere between 800 to 900 that we worked through.
Generally, for customers, the new pricing, was it gonna end up being more expensive or cheaper than what they used to have?
We had customers from different industry verticals. And we had B2B, B2C customers. So the average revenue per account was quite different from customer to customer. For customers that were having a small ARPA, they would find ChartMogul very expensive on the customer-based pricing. And customers that had a low ARPA, they would find us very inexpensive. And they sometimes even told us, you should be charging more. This is really too cheap for the value that we're getting. So those customers that had a higher ARPA, they sometimes paid significantly more after the migration. And then customers who had a low ARPA would pay quite a bit less at times. The friction that we had converting customers was reduced significantly. where our sales team had an easier time to sell ChartMogul, and also our customer success team had an easier time to retain these accounts. Another positive effect that we were anticipating that came out of the pricing migration is that we learned more about the sweet spot for ChartMogul, which turned out to be B2B SaaS. And this then impacted our product roadmap and also our strategy for our marketing team. Another positive side effect was that our product and engineering team got involved in many discussions during the pricing migration, and that led them to understand much better where our customers are realizing most value, and also where they are going with their businesses.
Now that you're over the edge and that you've done it, is there anything that you would have done differently?
It took us a while to understand how do we work with customers through these emotional conversations in a respectful way to arrive at a win-win solution. And we likened this process to the stages of grief in the emotional journey that someone is going through. First time we did it, we thought, what is happening now? We lost this customer, but then they would almost always come back, and we would be able to then move them to acceptance. So they say, all right, let's do this. I'll take you up on your offer. Let's do some additional onboarding and see where we can get more value out of ChartMogul to actually make it worth our time and money to pay that, what you're asking us.
Now, our own experience with pricing has been a bit of a roller coaster. At some point, we had 5 different tier plans, which was just confusing for everyone, even ourselves. And our most recent iteration is that we moved from tiered to a single flat pricing plan. We've seen some really good conversion rates, up to 3x higher than our previous combo, but we are honestly yet to see if it works out from the retention and the conversion side and just the general scalability. So I guess we'll update you with that in the future. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope this video was useful, and we'll see you next week.